This should be a retrospective. It's not. It should be a look back a year later at one of the darkest days in the nation's history, the storming of the U.S. Capitol on January 6 by supporters of Donald Trump, believing the lie he told them that the election had been stolen from him. Not this time. Save the retrospectives for the 50th anniversary of Animal House or the Dark Side of the Moon or whatever. Because this story isn't over. The insurrection of January 6 is a line in the sand for all of us. That includes media. Especially media. January 6 drew a line in the sand for all of us, media included. That anyone could deal such a stunning blow to our institutions is as surreal a year later as it was that day as the story unfolded on live television, to the astonishment and horror of millions. And, incredibly, to the apparent delight of some. In that regard, January 6 clarified some things, again, for all of us. Including media. The insurrection is what created the line of demarcation, however inadvertently. All of what has transpired since, the election audit in Arizona, the Republican attack on voting rights in several states, the glorification of traitors by dangerous liars like Tucker Carlson on Fox News, the emboldened and performative campaign faux outrages from Trump-lite candidates like Kari Lake, can be traced back to that day. How the story and all of its tendrils are covered going forward is crucial. You can boil the approach down to the answers to a couple of questions, the impetus for which you can follow back to that day. Did Joe Biden win the 2020 presidential election? Was it a free and fair process? And yes, it's astounding that these are questions still asked in 2022, but here we are. The answers are simple. Yes and yes. No hemming and hawing. No qualifiers. The two sides to every story cliché doesn't apply here, because one side is a lie. If any media organization doesn't frame its coverage of the attack on democracy from this starting point, it's doing it wrong. It's letting the liars win. Sometimes the story is in what you leave out. Stop putting Republicans who try to defend or justify the January 6 attack on the air if all you're going to do is let them make unjustified claims of election fraud, or try to somehow downplay January 6, or weasel out of the assault on voting rights without any pushback. Do pushback. Do question everything. This isn't some partisan argument. It's the basics of journalism. Rarely have the lines between right and wrong been so evident. Rarely in our history have the lines between right and wrong been so evident, and rarely has it been so incumbent upon journalism to make those lines clear. Yes, there are stories that are best told by presenting readers, viewers and listeners the facts and letting them make up their minds. We report, you decide, or whatever the old wink and a nod Fox News slogan was. This is not one of them. Think back to January 6th. Think of the hours after the attack began. Think of darkness falling on a chilly day in Washington, D.C. Think of the eerie lights of the Capitol set against that encroaching darkness, and the silhouettes of the mob that had forced its way in, intent on doing damage and maybe worse. Think of how that felt. Now think of the responsibility it demands. We have learned, in the last year, a lot about how dangerous to democracy the January 6th attack really was, even more dangerous than we thought. We have learned more about Trump's involvement and reaction. A lot of that we've learned through good journalism. We will continue to learn more. Some people will ignore the facts laid out in front of them. Okay. Some readers will disagree. So will some viewers. Okay. No business sets out to lose customers, but this is more important. This is at the core of what journalism does. This is telling the truth, and if people don't listen, tell it louder. Then tell it again. Journalists shouldn't do this work as if their jobs depended on it. They should do it as if the country depended on it. Because it does.